to your midweek edition of CNN Student News. I'm Carl Azuz. It's good to see you. The two most dangerous parts of a cyclone or a hurricane are the storm surge, the wall of water it washes ashore, and the flooding its rains bring. Some cities in Yemen are in bad spots for both threats. Tropical cyclone Chapala thundered in yesterday morning. It's the first tropical cyclone ever recorded in the Middle Eastern country. Yemen is already struggling with a civil conflict that started earlier this year involving government forces and a rebel group. It's also a poor nation with more than half of its population living below the poverty line. Now, with the arrival of Chapala, we're bringing in Jennifer Gray to explain how Yemen has a natural disaster to cope with as well.
Carl, in the past 30 years of keeping records, this part of the world has never seen anything like this. In fact, at one point, this cyclone was equivalent to a Category 4 hurricane. It did make landfall as what we would call a Category 1, so it weakened considerably, but a lot of rain is falling in this region. This storm is fizzling out over Yemen, but the flooding is going to be a huge concern. This region only sees about 3 to 4 inches of rainfall per year. A lot of areas in the United States sees more than that in a month. 2 to 3 years worth of rain is what is expected to fall over the course of just a couple of days. And what's also interesting about Yemen, a lot of these coastal cities are right up against mountains. And so when you get this much rainfall, we're going to see the possibility of mudslides and even rock slides. I want to show you the terrain on the map, and you can see right along the coast, we have these cities in a very mountainous region. You can see the mountains sticking up. And so when you get a lot of rainfall, that rain has to go somewhere. And so it flows down the side of these mountains and floods the small cities that are right there along the coast. So you have all of this storm surge that's working its way in, and you have all the rain that's falling in the mountains. It's washing into these cities. And so that's why we've seen these incredible pictures like you're seeing now of streets completely flooded and roads washing away. And so we're going to see a lot of damage out of this area as this storm continues to push inland. Carl?
Thanks, Jennifer. Next to Syria, a nation that's torn apart. Over the 4+ years of its civil war, more than 250,000 people have been killed. More than 10 million have been displaced or forced to flee to other countries. There are several different groups, including ISIS terrorists, fighting for control in Syria. And outside nations like Russia and the U.S. are involved. We get a lot of information from reporters on the ground. CNN's Clarissa Ward has traveled into Syria and met up with Kurdish fighters. The Kurds are an ethnic group, and the Peshmerga and the YPG are two Kurdish forces that are fighting ISIS in the Middle East.
Our journey into Syria began on the banks of the Tigris River that separates the Iraqi Kurds from the Syrian Kurds.
So we're here in Iraq, and Syria is just over there across the water, but this entire area is controlled by Kurdish forces. Now we need to get all of our gear onto one of these boats to get over to Syria.
Families weighed down with belongings cross in both directions. It was a very short ride, and then with a bump, we were in Syria.
So we've now arrived in Syria, or Rojava, as the Kurdish people who live in this area call this region. And we're now making our way along the Turkish border, driving through the countryside on some pretty bumpy roads to meet up with our guides from the YPG.
These rickety minibuses are how most Syrian Kurds get around, listening to patriotic songs cheering on the Kurdish YPG fighters. We were accompanied by a female fighter who was just 18 years old. The Kurdish parts of Syria have a very different feel to the rest of the country. Many women here are uncovered, and the security situation is relatively calm in towns along the Turkish border. But the famous Syrian hospitality is very much in evidence here. Even when we visited fighters on the front lines, we were invited to share their lunch. On this day, goat and bread was on the menu. You simply can't refuse.
It's fine.
The highlight, though, was an impromptu dance performance by our hosts as we prepared to leave. Months of heavy fighting has not quashed their spirit. The days are long, hot, and very dusty, and you're never quite sure where you're going to end up.
Since we've been in Syria, we've been sleeping in a different place every night, but this is our accommodation for the night. You can see the team here. Everyone's getting ready for bed, and it's certainly not luxurious, but you don't have hotels really in this area. We've been relying on the kindness of strangers, and every night people have been opening up their homes to us, so we're very grateful. And honestly, when you're in Syria, anywhere with a roof over your head and a nice mattress is perfectly comfortable for us.
A special administrative region of China leads off today's Call of the Roll. We're taking you to Macau, specifically the island of Taipa. Thanks for watching and for your request from the International School of Macau. Next, we're trucking on over to the city of Clintonville, Wisconsin. Hello, Clintonville Middle School, home of the truckers. The Silver Wolves are another unusual and awesome mascot. Fremont High School in Ogden, Utah is wrapping up our roll. Roughly 90% of vehicle crashes in the U.S. are at least partly because of human error. A solution could involve driverless cars, but there are a number of concerns about them. What if their complicated computer systems get hacked? What if heavy rain or snow disrupts the car's sensors? What if people become too reliant on the technology and lose the skills to take over and drive themselves? Plus, there's the cost. Current models of driverless cars run more than $100,000. Still, if people adopt them and if everything works well, let's see.
Automated controls engaging.
Feet off, hands off, and eyes off.
That's how we drove 65 miles per hour down a stretch of Virginia highway. It's the state's first try at testing driverless vehicles on real roads. CNN in one test car and the head of the National Highway Safety Administration in another. Virginia Tech researchers in the driver's seat just in case.
But right here, I'm going to transition over to automated mode.
Researchers are studying how people in driverless cars react to anything, from another car suddenly stopping to a construction worker in the road, all to help design the safest vehicle possible.
The vehicle is controlling our speed and our lane position and monitoring the environment ahead.
The test car receives wireless signals from other vehicles in the test. When the motorcycle brakes,
your foot is not on the pedal.
I'm not on the pedal, so he has a braking event, and
to avoid collision.
Here we're going to have a construction worker that was hidden behind that truck, but he's wearing a vest that has the same technology, and he's communicating his position to us as well. And so when the vehicle detected a possible collision path, our vehicle automatically braked to a stop.
This is the future of driving. Virginia joins California, Nevada, Florida, Michigan, and Washington, D.C. in okaying self-driving car testing on public roads.
You're saying it's so cool because we're on a real road. I mean, how crucial is that in moving forward to this next step?
We saw a trooper coming up behind us. We saw a workman come out from behind a truck. All responded beautifully by the automation and the connected elements that were there. At some point, though, it's going to get even more complicated out there. It's a critical element of seeing all this move forward.
Forward to the day where no hands, no feet, no eyes is the mantra for all drivers on the road.
You'd probably think the tallest dog in the world is a Great Dane, and you'd probably be right. This is Bentley, and he's almost as big as one. 38 inches tall from paw to shoulder, 228 pounds, and the 5-year-old beast eats more than half his weight in food every month, about 120 pounds of that. But it's not just a big food bill. His owners are trying to get him certified with a big record, the Guinness World Record for tallest living dog. And if they don't get it, it'd be a doggone shame. Given it's a sizable challenge, a great feat to obtain, and though they'll have to leave the dogcision in the paws of the judges, he's certainly not an underdog. I'm Carl Azuz, and we'll be back tomorrow.